Okay, welcome to TACTALK episode 12 of our second season. I'm your host, Alden Morris. So, since we're here in Washington State, and this is one of the topics that highly affects myself, I'm gonna go ahead and read this first article, that, wow, it's by Cairo 7 here if you're, from local, and it's by Craig Saylor. It says 3 more years of I-5 construction at Tacoma before decade-old HOV project is finished. And there's and if you're from this area, this is a great one because if you've seen the meme on Facebook where it shows the Back to the Future characters, it shows him getting in the vehicle. He goes, "Come." I just got back from 2052, and Tacoma between I-5 and Tacoma, whatever, and the Dome is still under construction. It's a great joke around here. So, I'm just going to have to read it by Craig Saylor here from the News Tribune. Tacoma, Washington, by Pierce County's decade-old HOV project is about to enter its home stretch, but don't expect to use diamond lanes until fall of 2021. In February, a contractor for the State Department of Transportation will begin widening Interstate 5 between the Tacoma Dome and the Puyallup River to make room for the new HOV lanes. In order to accomplish that, a new bridge to carry the southbound lanes of I-5 will be built. Then the old bridges will be demolished. The final $324 million segment between the Dome and the Port of Tacoma Road is part of the $1.6 billion project, which is adding the HOV lanes in Pierce County and essentially rebuilding stretches of I-5. Washington State Department of Travel said. Once the final segment is completed, HOV lanes will open in both directions of I-5 through Tacoma. Carpools and buses will be able to travel on HOV lanes from Gig Harbor to Everett, Washington State Department said. Narrowed lanes from 12 feet to 11 feet and other segments of the ongoing road construction project through Tacoma have led to numerous crashes involving semi-trucks. The most recent was on Wednesday. During the project, I-5 drivers can expect narrowed and shifted lanes and ramps, demolition of the L Street overpass and construction of a new overpass, nighttime lane and ramp closures, occasional weekend and longer ramp closures. The HOV lane construction project in Pierce County began in 2009. So, like I said, if you're from this area, you know the painful commute between, especially Tacoma and Seattle as of recently. Especially because if you're from the Pierce County area, we have JBLM, which always has an influx of enlisted personnel, and so we're always having this populous growth over here, and that just creates more traffic. So if they just finally finished up these lanes and actually worked on them, because I've been driving by for years. And you don't always see everyone out there working every day. It's more of you're always having to plan or budget or create new financing or something. So who knows about what kind of corruption is behind that sort of project? But we'll see how it goes in 3 years. They're probably I'm not gonna hold my breath for the next 3 years because it's probably gonna continue. But anyways, we do have interesting news that happened yesterday. So about 21 hours ago, and it's been developing since. And I'm just going to play a little bit of what was going on yesterday.
Now we have breaking news in Houston, Texas, where 5 police officers have been shot.
Yeah, those police officers were reportedly serving a warrant when this happened. CBS 2's Sharon Tay joins us from the newsroom, has more details. Sharon?
Indeed, a very intense scene in Houston right now. In fact, it is still an active scene right now. Dozens of first responders rushed to the scene, including the SWAT team. The shooting happened in a residential neighborhood. Officers were reportedly serving a narcotics warrant. The 5 officers were rushed to...
See, and that's real quick, before we get to where they were rushed to, if the war on drugs didn't exist, narcotics warrant, innocent lives wouldn't be taken.
A hospital, one of them had to be airlifted. Shortly after the gunfire, Houston's chief of police tweeted this and asked followers to pray for the officers as he headed to the scene. A neighbor described what she heard.
And I heard like a loud knock, and I thought somebody was knocking on my front door. So then I heard it again. I'm like, oh, I think somebody had a car accident. So then I looked, and then I heard again. I said, that's not a car accident. That sounds like gunshots. And it was like truly loud gunshots.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued this statement saying in part, this evening's horrific attack on police officers is a solemn reminder of the service and sacrifice our brave men and women in law enforcement make every day to keep us safe. The city of Houston and the Houston Police Department will have whatever state resources they need to bring swift justice to those involved. Well, tonight, 2 of the officers are in critical condition. 2 suspects are reportedly dead. Police have set up a perimeter for a possible 3rd suspect who apparently is on the run. We will continue to follow this breaking news for you, and we will bring you more information as soon as we get it in. Back to you, Pat.
All right.
So interesting news there, and it is still continuing to develop. So we'll keep you posted if anything else further develops further. But we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Bees Combat Systems at beescombatsystems.com, protecting those who prepare. 801-987-0893 for custom body armor carriers and tactical gear for military, law enforcement, contractors, corporate security, responsible citizens, and border patrol. Bees Combat Systems at beescombatsystems.com. 801-987-0893. Alright, and we're back to our 12th episode of Season 2. And I'm your host, Don Morris. So, we talked about the first segment of the I-5 Tacoma, and the cops that have been murdered. Killed, murdered, whatever you want to call it, serving the narcotics warrant. And I did briefly mention that, if there was no war on drugs, these kind of things would happen. Innocent lives would be taken. That's what I mean by innocent lives is that this is in this case, if depending on, I don't know, I'm not an expert on the case, but the way I look at it is just a narcotics warrant, meaning they were involved on a substance, dealing whether it's dealing of the substance or making of the substance, whatever. It sounds to me still like a victimless crime, and if it was regulated, taxed, whatever, legalized, there was no war on drugs, educational backgrounds would be increased on this kind of substance abuse, and not only would there be help for people who abuse this kind of substance, but there'd also be if you wanted to freely take this as your American right, because this is America, land of the free, you have every right to take what kind of drug and put whatever you want in your body. We're America. It's a republic. The war on drugs is very anti-constitution. Like I said, it would be well regulated. There'd be people would be well educated before you could even take it, freely put it in your body, whatever it is. You'd be given a directions, pamphlet, or this is what signs to look for in case whatever, things like that. And it would be, could be dosed out easily. So if like your first timer, you could do something small, something a little lighter of a milligram, whatever. That's what I mean as an example of the education background would be increased on something like that, like the legalization of drugs. So something simple, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, kind of a thing. Moving on that note, because of like the 2 related topics of the 5 cops being shot in Texas and here being Washington State, there's an article that I want to read, especially if you're Gainer Washingtonian.
She loved everybody. She was a
hold
really
on, give me a
kind
second.
woman.
Pause that. I don't know what that's about. Just pulled up the King 5 News, so I guess they have automatic advertisements that pop up. But anyways, state senator wants to reinstate Washington's death penalty. The Washington State Supreme Court tossed out the death penalty in October 2018. 3 months later, a state senator introduced a bill to restore it. This is by Brian Price, and this came out January 24, 2019. The state senator wants to put the death penalty back on the table in Washington State. Senator Keith Waggoner, sorry if I'm not saying that part, Right, Cedro Woolley proposed a bill to restore capital punishment as an option for inmates accused of killing someone while incarcerated. In October 2018, the Washington State Supreme Court ruled that the death penalty violates the state's constitution. The justices said the death penalty is valid because it is imposed in an arbitrary and racially biased manner. They ordered that people currently on death row have their sentences converted to life in prison. we leave open the possibility that the legislator may enact a carefully drafted statute to impose capital punishment in the state, but it cannot create a system that offends constitutional rights, the opinion said. Moving on, Wagner Bill SB 5364 would establish a death penalty review panel for incarcerated individuals who commit aggravated murder. The review panel would be comprised of 4 prosecuting attorneys, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of the Department of Corrections. Let me read that again. The review panel would be comprised of 4 prosecuting attorneys, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of the Department of Corrections. Our Attorney General, Bob Ferguson, for now, if this is proposed in the bill and actually voted in, would be using that real for gun advocacy. Oh, God, I can't wait. I know that it is a very divisive issue that many people feel strongly about, but I believe there must be consequences for incarcerated individuals who commit murder. The issue hits close to home as Officer Biendi worked in my legislative district, and I believe justice wasn't served in this case. Wagner had his legislation, Wagner has said his legislation is named in honor of the corrections officer killed by an inmate in 2011. SB 5364 already has a handful of co-sponsors in the Senate. However, last year the state Senate passed a bill to repeal the death penalty, an effort that was settled in the state House. Governor Jay Inslee issued a moratorium on the death penalty in 2014. Inslee at that time said it was inconsistent and unequal. Washington has executed 78 people since 1904, none of whom were women. Of those 78 executions, 66 were white. The majority of executions were before 1975, when Washington reinstated the death penalty after Furman versus Georgia. Washington has executed 5 people in the last 25 years. The most recent of which was Cal Coburn Brown in 2010. Brown died by lethal injection for the 1991 murder of a Senate area woman. And that's the end of that article. So, my personal opinion, I don't, really care if you agree or not, is that I would, yes, vote for this. I would, let me go ahead and just pause that again. I don't know what's going on here. Let me go ahead and just mute the computer. How about that? I vote yes on this one, actually. Jesus. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. So, but yes, like I said, I vote yes here. And simply because, specifically Governor Jay Inslee campaigned on no taxes, or tax increase, or proposal of taxes, and yet he did nothing but propose, initiate, and get some things passed here and there, whatnot. And this would save us taxpayer dollars, especially because, we're in a state that's highly taxed, and, we're just suffering at the cost of living, and job wages, because there's a mandatory minimum wage here now in Seattle, which is like $15 an hour, which is cut jobs in half, or eliminated jobs altogether. And then automation on top of that, and Seattle is a very progressive city, so it kind of controls the economy of the entire state, unless you're like in a larger city like Spokane. So just it's just a very interesting twist of fate when it comes to our taxes and what they're allocated for what purposes, what cause, what reasonings, what motives. And this would save the state much, enough taxpayer dollars, because people on death row are, 3 hots and a cot a day. And, they have the option of education, they get, entertainment, things like that. It's almost like become a powdered... Capital punishment should be rewarded with capital punishment. So, there's no reason that the taxpayer should be held liable for someone who's going to continue committing crimes while already on life sentences. So if it just doesn't look like they're going to get out and be able to commute, if you're getting out at 80 years old, what are you contributing to society at that point at 80 years old? Nothing. You're going to be still living on the taxpayer's dime when it comes to retirement homes or Social Security, whatever. You're going to be able to contribute to society in order to be rewarded back through the justice system. And the reason why I support this, too, is because, just by that factoid of Washington State has only done 70 executions since 1905. I mean, we're averaging less than an execution a year. So I guess we're in 66 of them are white. So we obviously are making good decisions when it comes to choosing who we are going to put down for what reasons why. We're not abusing the system. So, I mean, I know like some states have a grotesque amount of fucking executions. And excuse my French there. Because I'm not gonna even name the states, but I know like Texas, for example. I named the state there, but no, and I don't agree with all of them because I've heard of innocent people in some of these states, which are racially motive executions, being through the Jim Crow laws and stuff. It just sucks. I seen them, but here in Washington State, we're federally somewhat of a newer state in the union compared to a lot of the other states. And we seem to be wise about executions. 66 of them were white, racially motive. I'm white, so I still don't agree with the racial motives there because it's only 66 out of 78, and I believe all 78 were probably wise convictions. So I don't see the racial motive there. I just don't. I see the justice system being worked, whether you're white, black, Asian, it doesn't matter. It just happens that more white people commit capital punishment because they know that they're going to live the rest of their life on taxpayer dimes, so why not? If that's their way of life, that's their way of life. Doesn't matter if they're in jail or out of jail. So we're going to end the show there. Let me know what you think, and I'll cite these sources here at the bottom of the YouTube link, as well as the Facebook Live podcast. Thanks for listening to our 12th episode of Season 2. I'm your host, Alden Morris. I will see you guys tomorrow.